Good afternoon, everyone. How are you doing today? I would like to, before I get started, a big round of applause to the men and women who come up before me. Adam and Ashley, thank you for sharing your story. I know the struggle. I know how hard it is to get here. Just listening to you guys brings it all back, and I've been crying all morning listening to you guys, just understanding how hard it is to get here. So thank you for all that. Okay, so I lost my spot. It doesn't really matter though. I mean, I was up until about 2 o'clock in the morning writing this, and at some point I just gave up. I said, it's my story. I lived it. All right, so my name is Castillo, and I'm humbled to be here today, listening to so many powerful testimonies, so many witnesses to the power of Christ. And I'm proud to be one of those witnesses. I'm proud to be one of those miracles. I wasn't sure really what I was going to say today, right? I understood I only had 20 minutes. I really wasn't sure where I was going to start my story. There's so many starting points in my story. My story has so many different elements to it. My life has taken so many different turns as I've lived it. It's got so many different beginnings. I really wasn't sure where I wanted to start, right? I've always, as I reflected on it, it kind of blew me away how we can become different people as we grow, right? It's funny, I thought about Moses and how he went from being put in a basket down a river, left to faith, to becoming the prince of Egypt, to being exiled from Egypt, to coming back and releasing the people from Israel. Think about Paul. There's so many stories like this in the book, transformation stories. I believe that God lets us go through what we're going to go through. He's preparing us for where we're going. I want to be clear, guys, I'm not here to tell you my life story, okay? I'm not going to start off when I was a baby. I'm not going to do all that. I'm not here to tell you my life story. I'm here to tell you my rescue story, all right? I want to tell you how God saved me and where He was going to get me from. My story starts in 2009. 2009, I was still in prison, serving an 8-year sentence. I'm in the last year of my 8-year sentence. I was in administrative segregation at SEG. They kind of explained a little bit. The warden touched up on it a little bit. At SEG is basically where the hardheads go, right? The knuckleheads, the guys intent on raising hell. I was one of those. I don't know if I fell under that 5% he was talking about, because I don't think I was pure evil, for sure. But I wasn't too far from it. So there I am in segregation, where I spend 23 hours a day, 1 hour come out, and I get a shower every now and then. Now, around this time, I'm 26 years old, I'm in my physical prime. I was a monster back then. I could drive through 100 push-ups like it was nothing. And I remember being there. I just finished working out, and I see the gate opens. Here comes this guy. It's the parole officer. He's come to see me. And I had been ignoring him. He was sending me lay-ins to come see him for parole, and I had been ignoring him. I didn't want anything to do with it. I mean, I'm on the last year, I had basically screwed up parole in every way you think of up to this point. I couldn't get out of prison. Like, no matter what I did, I couldn't get out. I mean, the first time I blew it, it really wasn't even my own fault. I guess I kind of was, right? But I didn't know the guy was going to retaliate. And he did. And, we're in the day room, and one day he tried to take my eye out. And there we were. Almost got an assault charge there. Almost ended up with a murder charge. And at the end of the day, all I really was doing was defending myself. But I'm not trying to pretend to be innocent, okay? I was a loose cannon. I messed up my parole over and over and over again. And here I go, and here's this guy out of nowhere. I'm driving around, here he is. And I'm standing in my cell. The first thing he says to me, he goes, "Man, don't you want to go home?" And I looked at him and I said, "Oh, look, by the way, I'm going to clean this up a little bit." Because what I actually told him, I can't repeat today. But what I did tell him was, what are you even doing? Honestly, if it wasn't for my mom, who would be happy I came home early, I would tell you to get lost. And that's just, I kind of did, right? I told him, I got 12 months ago. What you gonna do? And because it makes perfect sense, right? Because TDCJ makes perfect sense. They gave me parole. It was kind of crazy. I'm like, man, if I would have known that, I would have done this a long time ago. That's when I just trust everybody out, right? They don't know. It's crazy. So yeah, leaving prison was kind of weird for me. It was kind of surreal. I never really thought about leaving. I had spent 8 years lost, completely lost, in a whole different world, a whole different reality that I had fully embraced. I was in my element in prison. I thrived in prison. I hear stories about people who went to prison and all of a sudden they realized that they needed to change. That wasn't me. That's not where my redemption story starts. Actually, I was exactly where I saw myself going. I knew I was going to be in prison at one point. There is no way for me to sit here and break down my 8 years in prison in 20 minutes. I did so much in prison. You name it, I did. Extortion, drug trafficking, I did it. Actually picked up more time for drug trafficking while I was in it. The amount of chaos that I caused from the ages of 18 to 26, you wouldn't believe it if I told you. You wouldn't believe it. Sometimes I don't know, looking back, like I can't even believe that was me. I grew up in a culture where prison was just a part of life. It was like a rite of passage. You know, like by the time I was 13 years old, I knew I was ready to go to prison. Like, I was prepped, I was ready. I grew up going to visit my uncles all the time in prison. I grew up looking up to them, you know. They kind of they were like my male figures in life. And it's not like they would ever tell me, hey man, don't come to prison. No, they would glorify prison. They would kind of tell me about the homies and the gangs and everything that's going on. And you know, I'm a kid, man. I don't have a father figure. My dad wasn't worried about me. I couldn't talk to my dad about God or anything like that. Heck, when I was born, my dad just dropped my mom off at the hospital and said he was tired, he went home. I didn't, you know, I was looking for something. So I knew that eventually I was going to come to prison. I was preparing for it. While some kids are preparing to go to college, I was preparing to go to prison. I made a choice early on to forget about the world and just focus on survival. I didn't think about going home. I didn't think about playing Christian. I didn't think about any of that. I didn't write people. I wouldn't even go see parole. For 8 years, I lived like there was no tomorrow. I would risk everything in that moment for an ideology that I had grown up, adopted. I didn't have room for Christ back then. I had made up my mind where I was going. I knew who Christ was. Sure I did. I got taught who Christ was for a pretty young age when I was a boys' home by a Baptist named John Cameron. And I knew Christ. I accepted Jesus Christ into my heart when I was about 12 years old. And my disconnect with God was, I asked John, I remember I said, what is the purpose of life? And he says, I'm a deep thinker, by the way. I'm very profound. I get in there. And I was like, what's the purpose of life? And he says, well, serve Christ. To him, it was like the most natural thing in the world. But to a 12-year-old, I was like, so, that's it, you know? I didn't like that. I had a problem with it. I took it personal, like, so what? That's what I'm supposed to do? I'm supposed to be a slave? You know? That's how I took that. It's a 12-year-old. So at that moment, I made a commitment to never reach out to Christ, ever. That's all he made me for. I'm not going to be here. I'm going to live for someone. I'm going to live for me. I'm going to live for it on my own. I don't need you, man. And I'm not going to be one of those hypocrites who, when the going gets tough, oh God. I don't know how many people I've met like that. I don't need no God. And then all of a sudden it gets hard. I wasn't going to do that either. No matter how how bad it got. The worse it got, the more I dig my feet and no. I'm a stubborn man, I'm Taurus. I remember, and actually, you kind of stole my thunder here, but this is powerful when you brought up the beach. I'm all over the beach in the story here. I remember when I got out, I was having trouble adjusting, just processing everything, right? So the last 4 years I spent in ad seg. So you're in a little cell, like by maybe 15 by 10, maybe, something like that. And you can't really see far, right? Maybe you can't see really, it's hard. There's some times that you can, but for the most part, it's hard to see 30 feet in front of you, okay? There's always some obstruction. We had windows in our cell, but there really weren't windows for you to look out. It was more so you could have daylight in there, okay? Because the window was way up there, okay? You have to stack some books or your mattress, whatever, just to get up there, right? And if you manage to get up there, it's about this thick, about this wide. And when you made it up and you look down, guess what you're going to see? Another wall. With a name that you probably tell you the same thing you are, there you are, doing sign language and stuff. So, when I got out, I'm seeing everything, like, this room would blow me away. I got to Memorial City Mall, and I started getting anxiety, and I'm like, get me out of here, man. Started sweating, I couldn't take it, like, everything was moving around, I couldn't take it. I told my friend, man, get me out of here, man, take me somewhere smaller. I mean, take me to Burlington, something. Get me out of here. You know, I never understood the effect SAG had on me, just being in that little block. I remember going out to Galveston one night, and by now I had been out a while, and I kind of seen what was going on. And I'm standing, it's just in the middle of the night, and I'm standing there looking out into the ocean. Now, remember guys, I haven't been able to see that far for years. Just standing in the mall blew me away. Here I am on the edge of the earth, looking out into what seemed to me at the moment endless. I could see, it was a clear night, and this moon hit the ocean and it just went. And I remember looking at that for the first time, and I had never appreciated it. I had never appreciated how huge the world was until that point. I'd been like a little rat in the cage the whole time. And I started thinking about it. And it was like, wow, look at this, look at all this. Look at all of this. I've been in this little circle, this little reality, the last 8 years of my life, ready to die and stuff, okay? There was a time I went to war behind a bench, guys, okay, for the right to sit somewhere. I told you, everybody to kill me. Tell me I can't sit somewhere. I was willing to die any moment. Over something that meant absolutely nothing. But in that moment, I believe Father talks about this. This was important. This was worth dying for. And I look out there, and I just realized I had how much time I had just wasted. I felt like a fish being taken out of a tank, who had been in a tank his whole life, and they put him in the ocean, and it's like, whoa, like wow, right? Like there was like an unlock there, and I saw the world for what it was. I felt insignificant. I felt like a waste of time. I felt like I had just thrown 8 years away. I started looking at life a little bit different right around there. I promised myself that I would never throw my life away again. Guys, I'm not scared to go back to prison, I'll be honest with you. But what terrifies me is going back to prison for nothing. What terrifies me is going back to prison for something meaningless. I'll go back to prison to defend my family. I go back to prison to defend Christ. There's certain things where for me, life just ain't worth living. I'll lay it down right then and there. But it needs to mean something. And up to that point, my life has meant absolutely nothing. And maybe that's why I didn't die. Now, I want to take some time here to point something out. Now, you notice that up until this point, I still have not reached out to Christ. It's very important that I break this down for you like this. I'm doing this by design. There is a lot of people who think that, especially inmates, if I can just get out, everything will be fine. That's just not the case. All right? There's so many things that you're going to deal with. Getting a home, a decent place to live, getting a decent job. Making changes in your life means absolutely nothing if you're not adding Christ. And in this case, this is what I was doing. I was making positive changes, and I felt that I was doing a good thing. Hey, I'm good. I'm not doing the gang stuff anymore. I'm going to be fine. I'm not going to break the law. I'm going to get a job. I'm going to go to work. I'm going to get a family. And I did that. I did all those things. Somehow I leveled up and I started selling semi-trucks. Best job I ever had. Uneducated kid, grew up in Spring Branch. Best job I ever had. Honestly, it was God blessing to me. Changed my life. I met my wife, who gave me 2 beautiful twin boys. I haven't mentioned this, right, but I left the daughter behind when I went to prison the first time. To this day, I really don't have a relationship with her. I don't like talking about her too much because it's something I still haven't fixed. I'm trying. It's hard. She was left behind. She was part of the sacrifice that I gave up to live the lifestyle, and I knew what I was doing. I willingly did it. My wife gave me twin boys, beautiful twin boys, named Drake and Castillo, who will be 12 in August. They're the pride of my life. Anybody who knows the most important thing in my life is being a dad. All I want is to be able to serve Christ and be a good dad. That's it. I don't care about being rich. I don't care about being famous. I don't care about being a CEO. I don't care about any of that stuff. I just want to be a good dad, and I want to serve Christ. I pray that all the time. Lord, just let me do that. I'll be happy. For a while, it was pretty good. I was getting all the things that I wanted. I was getting all the things that I knew that I aimed for. But there was still no Christ in my life. And as I started making more and more money, things started coming easier. Started getting new cars. Started getting new women. Started partying a lot. At the end of the day, I went to prison when I was 18 years old. There was a lot of stuff that I didn't get to do. So when I started making money, all these temptations came back. And there I go. Now, I didn't think I was doing anything wrong. I'm not breaking the law. I'm not going to jail. And this is kind of how the devil tricks you, right? You are in Christ. You're good. See, the devil knows us really well. He knows us better than we know ourselves. And he'll sit there and go, wait. Well, yeah, you think you're gone. If you don't got Christ, you'll be bad. Paul talks about how, man, I don't want to get too, I'm going to stop. I'm not going to go there. But yeah, he knew I'd be back. He was waiting for me. And I started going out all the time. I lost value. I lost focus. All of a sudden, I'm not valuing my kids. All the things that I prayed for, all the things that I wanted, I got. And when I got them, I threw them all away. My wife started complaining, telling me I needed to be home. I didn't care. Bills are paid, things are taken care of. I did good. The kids don't need me here all the time. I'm fine. For whatever reason, I thought I had done fine. Right? I was insane. So I ended up leaving my wife. We ended up getting a separation. I wanted to go do what I was doing. I was partying all the time. I was in a relationship with this girl who was crazy. Okay? And it was just a lot going on at that time. And I remember one time, things things got pretty crazy with her and I. Okay? I've been battling if I even want to tell this part of my story, but I'm going to go ahead and tell it, man. I'm going to go ahead and tell my story. It might not be PG for you guys, but this is the raw, unedited. This is who Daniel is. This is where I come from. I caught this girl cheating on me one time. And I snapped. I was drunk. I snapped. I almost killed this person. Alright? It was pretty bad. It was real bad. It was really bad. I remember being in the car, the back of the cop car, and I'm watching everything happen. And reality just hit me. And I'm just kind of like, wow. Here we go again. How in the world are you sitting in the back of the cop car? I'm watching it all happen. And I know that's coming. They hit me with 25 left. I got these beautiful baby boys at home who now I don't know if I'm going to be their life. I remember when I got to the jail cell, I woke up the next morning and I'm still in jail. And I'm looking around and it was just like, what's going on? I look in the mirror and I was disgusted in the person I saw, who I'd grown up to be, right? I didn't have any direction whatsoever. That's what happens when you don't have Christ in your life. When you decide to do all this, you're really just kind of floating around. And there's a lot of people like that. They're all looking for something. They don't know that Christ is right here. So, as I sit in that jail cell, I think the hardest thing was my sons. I think that's what tore me up. My sons and my wife at the time, who we were separated. I was like, you're about to leave. I love you guys. Like, you're about to forfeit your family again. I felt like the stupidest person on earth. I was disgusted on the things that I've done. I was disgusted on the person I was. I remember, I've always been someone who took pride in who I was. Like, I was always sure of myself, right? Like, this is who I am. But this day I wasn't. This day I looked in the mirror for the first time in my life. I was disgusted in who I saw back. And that was the difference. That was the difference. For the first time, I could actually see what I was doing. I couldn't see it before. Before, doing the things I did, that was just natural. Just natural, man. Now, for the first time, I'm actually seeing from the outside looking in. I remember getting down on my knees, something break me down and crying. Getting down on my knees and praying to God for the first time since I was a child. Because I had spent all this time running from Him. I had spent all this time trying to prove a point to Him that I could do it on my own. I don't need you, man. And it's kind of like Christ let me do it. That's the thing about Christ. Like, He'll let you do what you want to do. He's not going to force you to do anything. All right, you want to go do that? Fine. You don't need me? Fine. Go ahead. Knock yourself out. I'll be here. And that's what it was. I get down on my knees for once. I surrendered myself to Christ. Truly. Genuinely. I haven't looked back ever since. I got down and I prayed to God. I said, Lord, I can't do this without you. I've tried everything. I tried everything, and for some way, somehow, I keep ending up here, in this cell. How did I end up here? And I realized that I had tried everything else except Christ. And that day, I gave my life back to Christ. See, one thing I've learned is you never quit being a Christian. Once you're saved, you're always. Once you've accepted God, He's always right there like this. The whole time. Right here. He never left me. I remember I got out, and it was my wife who bonded me out. Actually, my ex-wife, she bonded me out. Remember going to, I know I needed to, we went to St. Jerome, and I remember standing there crying, bawling, crying my eyes out. And praying to God, why have you forgotten me? You know, what have I done to keep ending up here? Why have you forgotten me, Lord? I didn't want anything big. I just wanted simple things, right? And I remember sitting in St. Jerome, and I was bawling like a little baby, right? To the point where I was embarrassed. And if you look over there, I was everywhere. And my first instinct was go to the bathroom. Felt like I'm going to stand. I've been cried for all my life. I'm going to stand here. And I remember being there, knelt down and praying this. And I remember, I swear, it was like God put his hand on me. And for a split second, I saw my whole life. I saw how Christ had been with me the whole time. How he got me out of jam after jam after jam after jam. And then I look over at my wife, who really, honestly, any other woman, she would have been there. She would have left me in that jail cell. And I heard Christ, and he says to me, son, I'm not the one who's forgotten you, you've forgotten me. Look at all the blessings that I've given you. You did this on your own. I did. I think I did it alone, right? I never really appreciated God's love until that moment. You know, people talk about God's love, right? I saw God's love in that moment. I appreciated it. And I saw the way he loved me. The way he loved me. He let me do what I was going to do. And whenever I was ready to go back, he was there for me. After that, my life started changing, man. I ended up at St. Jerome, long-time parishioner, and God's been putting pieces around my life to help mold me. When I went to get my license for my salesman for the 18-wheeler, it was a Catholic who went and spoke for me to get my license, because I was an ex-convict. They didn't want to give it to me. My friend Damien Averett, one of the smartest men I know, he went out there and spoke up for me and told him basically, I'll put my law license on the line for this man. I remember when he said that, I was like, wow, chill out. Whoa, precious man. And it's crazy how God has put people around me to continue to form me. I remember the night of my confirmation, sitting there, and my sponsor couldn't make it that night. And, you know, I kind of felt alone a little bit, like, man, here I am, where's my sponsor at? You know, everybody's got a sponsor. And out of nowhere, my friend Elio Valerio, I got you. My friend Elio Valerio, who's right here, just walks up to me, puts his hand on my shoulder. He said, you ready? I said, yeah, man, I'm ready. I'm ready. I sang that long confirmation that night. His whole family is a miracle to me. And it's just been a constant growth, right? I've submitted my will 100% to Christ. I've been living that way ever since. My life has gotten significantly better. I'm breaking cycles. My sons, we can sit there and talk about God now. The other day, my son, I was actually getting ready for this, and my son walked in. I have a studio at home, and he walks in. He goes, yeah, he was on his mind. I need to talk to my son. I said, yeah, what's up, son?